Hi, I'm Avinash Patalay. I'm a senior consultant at KPMG Consulting. Today, I'm here to talk about project management and accounting module of Dynamics 365, also popularly known as PMA module. The agenda for today is that I'm going to give you a quick overview about the professional services industry. Projects are the lifeblood of professional services industry. Therefore, a quick overview is going to be quite beneficial, followed by a walkthrough on the quote to cash process using the PMA module within Dynamics 365. So if you look at the professional services industry, it comprises of the organizations where the project, service and resources are centric to the delivery, and the resource allocation and resource management is key to deliver a service value chain to the organization. If you look at the characteristics, we see that this industry is extremely unique, and the projects that run in this industry has a start and an end date. The projects are delivered taking into account the time, and these projects are budgeted in order to make sure the costs are kept under control. The scope and the delivery of the project is kept a tab on to ensure the performance of the project remains healthy. And finally, the risk management and planning is undertaken to ensure in case of any impediments that might arise in the future are well taken care of. The goal is to build long-term partnerships with the customers, not only during the project delivery, but also supporting them afterwards. The key here is to deliver the right resources with the right skill set at the right place and at the right time. Of course, keeping the cost into account and making sure the project profitability remains healthy. So if you look at the professional services industry overview, we will see there are two key aspects to it. First and foremost, the industry is highly specialized and fragmented. By this, what I mean is that the processes that are undertaken within this industry are unique that you might not find in some other industries. Furthermore, these processes might vary within the vertical itself. And the key is to deliver a solution value that will cover all the aspects of the business with a single unified system. It is exactly here that we talk about ERP opportunity for the professional services industry. The second key aspect is predominantly that it is project driven and resource driven. And therefore, the long-term relationship is the key to the profitability. You should have the flexibility to manage the client's relationship and ensure there is customer satisfaction. Workforce and resource management plays a very vital role to keep a low attrition within the company. And the flexibility for the work breakdown structure is extremely essential. So what are the ERP opportunities that exist in professional services? In the general project space, we find there are organizations who are into facilities management, IT projects, management consulting, and research services. In engineering, construction, and installation space, we have organizations who are architectural firms, engineering firms, construction, and small installations. In the legal space, we have the law firms. And in the media, we have the publishing houses, public relations, advertising, and media production houses. And finally, in the service management space, we have companies who are into industrial installation maintenance and those who undertake field services. So if you look at the project management life cycle, the first step is basically the bid and pitch process. If the bid is successful, then the paperwork of drawing up the contract and the payment schedule is taken care of. In the third stage, the project is actually defined and the work breakdown structure along with the detailed project planning is achieved. The fourth step is where resource scheduling takes place and budget planning happens. The fifth step is essentially where the project kicks off and the costs are incurred. And then finally, the last step is where the invoice is generated and revenue is recognized. If you look at the integration aspect, the PMA module is not standalone. It has various touch points to the other modules within the system. For example, it uses the sales and marketing module for the CRM activities, the procurement and supply chain module for resourcing goods, services, and raw material, and human resources and resource scheduling to get the right people at the right time, expense management and payroll to handle the reimbursement of the project expenses, and payroll to pay the wages and salaries, accounts payable module to handle the vendors and subcontractors, accounts receivable module when you raise the project invoice, service management when the project delivery is complete, and then after sales support contracts come into the picture. Finally, all the financial transactions that get generated within the system get reflected in the general ledger module. If you look at now the project lifecycle in the PMA module, we see that it is divided into 3 phases: the initiate phase, followed by the execution phase, and finally the analyze phase. In the initiate project phase, here we see that it starts with creating of the quotation, sending it out to the customers, and finally confirming the quotation. If the bid is successful, then you undertake creation of the project contract, followed by creating the project itself and a detailed work breakdown structure. Optionally, you can create the project forecast and budget, and finally set up a resource scheduling and then build the project team. In the execution phase, you look at entering all the cost, managing the forecast and budget, monitoring the work breakdown structure and making adjustments if need be, generating the project invoices and recognizing the revenue. In the last phase, we review the profitability and the invoices, and then also analyze the cash flow and the utilization. Let us now have a quick look at the project types. Project types can be broadly categorized into external projects and internal projects. External projects are the ones that you have a customer associated with it, and then also they are the ones that generate revenue for the organization. Whereas internal project, as the term says, are internal to the organization, which entails activities like research and development, building up an IP, and capex, opex, etc. External projects can further be bifurcated into time and material projects. These are typically do and charge kind of projects. You can have optionally a budget associated with it, but not necessarily. The second type of external project is the fixed price project. These are the ones where you have a fixed price agreed with the customer at the beginning of the project, and then you tend to work towards it. Here, managing the budget is extremely important so that you stay within the budget and then maintain a good profitability. Internal projects can be bifurcated into time project, where you just capture the time. Cost projects are the one where you collect all the cost for the activity that you're undertaking. And finally, you have the investment project, which is essentially a cost project, but then at the end of the completion of the project, you have the capability to capitalize it to a fixed asset. Projects are the lifeblood of professional services industry. So before we go into project management and accounting module, I would like to give you a quick overview of the professional services industry, followed by a walkthrough of quote to cash process within Dynamics 365. So I'm in Dynamics 365 operations. I will go to project management and accounting and open up project quotations. I will create a new quote for the customer. I also have the option to basically create the quotation from a pre-existing template. For example, if I look at the group ID of software projects, I have the templates that are predefined for analysis, design, and development. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to skip using the template and then create a quotation right from the scratch. I will make use of the work breakdown structure functionality that is available. Create a new activity called design. And then have 2 sub-activities under it called the design workshop I envisage that it's going to take 40 hours. Expand this a bit and then have a sub activity of writing up the functional design document. The functional design document activity cannot start until the workshop is complete. So I'm going to set a predecessor to it. And I expect that it should take 1 day. The moment I have put in a predecessor to this, you will see that the start date has been adjusted and aligned with the end date of the previous activity. And now I will create a second task, and this is going to be the development piece. And the development cannot start until the design phase is complete, so I will link it to the phase of completion of functional design document. Choose a category, and then I expect that this is going to take about 40 hours. Now in schedule planning, I can say that the total effort that it takes for me to complete is 97 hours and the duration is about 13 days. I can come to estimated cost and revenue tab, and this is going to give me details of the cost and revenue for the entire piece of work. In addition to the hours, I also have the option to enter other transaction types, namely the expense, item and fees. So for the development piece, I am going to add one more item here. I am going to add an item here. Select the item number, and you will see the cost price and the sales price get pulled through from the product rate card. And I'm going to add one more transaction type called fee, which is my project fees, and then save the record. If I look at the cost price and the sales price, it gives me 15,100 as the cost and 36,100 as the total sales price. I'm happy with this work breakdown structure. What I can do is I can generate the quotation lines directly by using this generate options to copy the lines from the work breakdown structure. I can click on totals, and then it gives me the details of the cost value, the total invoice amount, the margin that I'm making, and the contribution ratio. Now I can submit this project quotation to the workflow, wherein it goes to my manager for his review and approval. The quotation goes off to my manager. He has the ability to review it, approve it, or reject it if need be. Now you see the quotation status has been approved. It has gone to my manager, who is happy with the quotation and has approved it. Now it's ready to be sent out to the customer. So I go to quote and then use the option to send quotation. I have the option to print the quotation, and when I select the printer setup, I can either print it off to the printer or send the output to a file or email the customer directly. For the purpose of this demonstration, I am going to keep it the print destination to screen and then click OK. So the quotation is now printed to the screen. I can either print it directly, or I also have the option to export to various file formats like PDF, Word, Excel, etc. Now the customer has received the quotation. A few days later, I call up the customer to find out and follow up the quote that I have sent. He tells me that the quote seems to be slightly higher, and then negotiates with me to reduce the fees from 1,000 to 500. I'm happy with that because still the project is making some decent profit. So in order to make the revision, I can use the option of revise quote. And again, I go back to my work breakdown structure into the estimated cost and revenue tab, and then make the amendment of the fees from £1,000 to £500. I will pull through the lines from the work breakdown structure, and now you will see that the price of £500 has been pulled through from the work breakdown structure. Again, I will have to submit this quotation back to my manager so that he can review the quote and then approve. The quotation status is now on submitted, which indicates that it has gone to my manager for his approval. My manager is happy with the quote and he has approved it, and therefore the quotation status now stands at approved. And now I will send the revised quotation back to the customer. For the sake of time, I am not going to print it again. And therefore now you see the quotation status is now on sent. A few days later, the customer calls me up and says that he is extremely happy with the quote and would like to proceed with the bid. So I can either go and confirm, or suppose if I didn't manage to win it, then I can choose the cancel option or the lost quotation option. But for now, I will use the confirm option. And again here, I can select a reason code for which we have won this particular piece of work. So I'm going to select as price. Optionally, I can also print the quotation confirmation and send that to the customer. From here, I can use the transfer to project wizard in order to transfer the contents of the project quotation into a project. So I'll make use of that. Now here I can link the quotation either to an existing project or new project and make sure that I'm able to transfer the details from the quotation, including the work breakdown structure, into the project. Select a project group. I can optionally create a new contract ID or select from one of the pre-existing contracts. And now you will see a new project ID number 16 is created. I'll navigate to the same. The status, the project stage is on the status created. And if I come to my work breakdown structure, as a project manager who is now responsible for delivering this project, I can see the details of the work breakdown structure created during the quote stage. I review the same, and then I have the option to amend it. For example, I think that writing up the functional design document would take about 16 hours. So I make that amendment, save, and then publish the work breakdown structure. As this is time and material project, I would like to make use of the project budgeting functionality in order to control the cost. So I will come to the project budget. And either I can enter the cost lines manually, or I can simply import it from the work breakdown structure estimates. All the lines from the work breakdown structure get imported into the project budget lines, and I will submit it to my manager for approval. My budget is now approved. I can go back to my project and I'm ready for executing it. So I'll change the project stage from created to in process. And now I can start posting costs. So I'll start off by posting an hour journal. I'll select the activity, which is my workshop, select the resource, enter the number of hours and post. I can make use of the tracking views, which gives me the option to see both the effort tracking and the cost tracking. For example, now I'm on cost tracking view and the system tells me that I'm 25.16 complete. It gives me at a project level as well as the activity level. Further, it gives me how much is my remaining cost to complete the activity and what is the cost at complete. If I change the view to effort tracking, this gives me details of the progress at a project level as well as an activity level. For example, now on the task of the workshop, I'm 100% complete. Other details that you can get is how much is the remaining effort and what is the effort at complete. I will now go and post some more hours on the next activity of the project. The next activity was the functional design, and then I'm going to select a resource. I will enter the number of hours. Originally in the work breakdown structure, I had estimated that it's going to take 16 hours, but now the actual time that the resource has taken is 20 hours. When I attempt to post this, I get an error message. The system says that it cannot post because the budget would be exceeded by £400. Now, in order to move further, what I can do is I can go to my budget and then make a revision to it. So I go to my project budget and then click on new revision. And then once again I submit the budget for approval. The budget has been approved, so now I can go back to my journal and then post it. Let me take you back into the tracking views, and now you will see the cost tracking view shows the activity around the functional design document actually shows 125%. This is because originally we envisaged only 16 hours of work, whereas we have exceeded by 4 hours and therefore it shows 125%. Likewise, if I change the view to effort tracking view, this also shows that we have consumed 4 hours more than what we have originally anticipated, and therefore the progress percentage is 125% on this activity. Now let me consume some material. I'll come to the item journal. Select the item number and select the activity. So that is posted now. And the final is I can post some fees also on the project. Now that I have posted all the cost against a project, I can come to project statements and run a project statement for this particular project. The system shows me that I have got 13,500 in my VIP account. So as a project manager, I decide to invoice the customer for it. I can come to my posted transactions and then see all the 4 transactions that are posted against the project are on the status chargeable. I can raise an invoice proposal, and in the invoice proposal it shows me all the transactions that are due to be invoiced to the customer. I have the option to either select them all or clear them and select the ones that I wish to invoice. I can have a look at the totals, and this gives me the total amount of the quantity that I'm invoicing, the invoiced amount, and the total cost amount, and the margin that I'm making, including the contribution ratio. Now I will post this invoice. I have the option to print the invoice. The invoice is now posted to the accounts receivable. Thank you very much for your time today. Feel free to reach out directly or via comments on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc.